Macmillan Audio presents The Last Days of Jesus by Bill O'Reilly. Read for you by Edward Herrmann, with an introduction read by the author.
A note to listeners. In the beginning. Jesus of Nazareth is certainly one of the most influential men who has ever lived. Many people are sure that he is number one on that list. Nearly 2,000 years after he was brutally murdered by Roman soldiers, more than 2.2 billion human beings attempt to follow his teachings and believe Jesus is the Son of God. I am one of them, a Roman Catholic who was educated in religious schools all the way through college. But I am also a historian who investigates the truth about important people. That is what I have done in this book. I believe that in order to understand what Jesus accomplished and why he paid for it with his life, we have to understand what was happening around him. It was a time when Rome dominated the Western world and allowed no dissent. Human life was worth very little. Life expectancy was less than 40 years, and far less if you happen to anger the Romans. For evidence about Jesus' life, we look to the New Testament Gospels, accounts written by 4 of his friends. Admittedly, these narratives concentrate on the evidence that Jesus was God, but we can gather facts about his life and times in them as well. In addition, the Romans kept very good records of the time, and a few Jewish historians also wrote down the events of Jesus' day. From these, I have gathered information and written a fact-based book about Jesus the man. I don't address Jesus as the Messiah, but as a human being who inspired people in a remote part of the Roman Empire by preaching a philosophy of peace and love, and who made very powerful enemies at the same time. This is a violent story about the punishment Jesus received because he upset the ruling people in government and some of his own people. I do not suggest that I know everything about Jesus. There are major gaps in his life, and at times I can only surmise what happened to him based upon best available evidence. This is a story of the struggle between good and evil. Thank you for listening. Bill O'Reilly, Long Island, New York.
Prologue. A Changing World. 63 to 6 B.C. Judea and Galilee. The world Jesus was born into was changing. After hundreds of years of living a fairly consistent life under different invading armies, the Jews had been conquered by the Romans, who had altered the day-to-day life in Judea and Galilee. Long before the Romans, the Babylonians had invaded in 598 B.C., followed by the Persians, the Egyptians, and the Syrians. In 63 B.C., the Romans slowly advanced from their strongholds around the Mediterranean Sea, engulfing lands and peoples as they went. And the Romans didn't take control peacefully. They invaded towns and cities, stealing land by simply occupying it. Soldiers in the Roman emperor's armies slaughtered anyone who put up a fight or got in their way, even members of groups traditionally considered off-limits to civilized invaders, women, the elderly, and children. Those conquered people who were captured but not killed during the Roman invasions were kept as slaves. The Roman Empire's economy depended on slaves to plant and harvest crops for its vast territories, and to work producing things like jugs and other pottery. Those who had not fought, and who lived in small villages like Nazareth, were left to plant their fields and work at the crafts they were trained for. The one big change was that now they had to accumulate money in the form of coins to pay taxes to Rome.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?